Welcome to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. We are on the road visiting our good friends at Steele Rubber Products near Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, Steele Rubber Products is the most trusted brand when it comes to rubber seals on any vehicle. And on this visit, we're going to learn how they do it, and we're going to show you a cool couple project cars they're working on with their products. So stay tuned for an exciting edition of Motorhead Garage.
Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Motorhead Garage is presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Welcome to Steele Rubber Products. You know, the bottom line is if you have a car, a boat, RV, even an airplane, and you need a rubber seal for it, they can do it here. Danny Agosta is the head of marketing. And Danny, you guys have been at this for decades. How is Steele Rubber unique in this industry where other people are competing as well?
Right, so we make the highest quality rubber parts that you can get. Whether it comes to the rubber compounds, the metal cores that are in between it, the designing process, all of that is in-house and is to the highest quality.
This trip to Steele Rubber is going to be educational because we're going to learn how you guys do things, but we're also going to learn about 7 of the most common mistakes that folks make when they're putting rubber seals on their vehicle. And Danny, what is the #1 item on our list?
The #1 mistake people make is throwing away their originals. They take off a part, they assume they can get it, and they throw it away. So if you don't have a replacement part, don't throw it away because 1, you can't seal it, and 2, all of our parts are made from originals. So if you don't have it and no one else makes it, we can make it.
Well, Danny, it's time to get started here on the El Camino, and we know we have the correct part. We checked the catalog. We know there's a replacement for it. The weather stripping on this has seen better days, so it's time to get that off of there. So what's that process like?
All right, so we know we got our replacement, so we're good. The old weather stripping here, you know, it's dry, it's crusty. For this particular part, you know, this one is actually just stuck into a channel, and you can see it just pulls out.
Simple as that.
Then we'll come down to where there's some pins. So you'll want to remove these pins as well. You can see sometimes the rubber breaks away. We can just come in with a pair of pliers later and get those. But we'll go ahead and remove all of this all the way around.
That's amazing. That's all that takes. Some vehicles can be harder though, right?
Yeah, so some doors are glued on, and that's going to be a little bit trickier. What I like to do is basically, you're going to have to tear it away, and then you'll come back and clean up the adhesive and any old weather stripping that stays there. This will still want to come and clean up. I mean, you can see this is obviously even a different color. It was painted with the weather stripping on. So we'll come clean this up and make sure that all of this is hidden again when we put our new weather stripping on.
All right, well, we'll take care of that here when we go to break. And when we come back, we'll show you how to install the new one right here on Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, coming at you from Steele Rubber. Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, continues from the headquarters of Steele Rubber here just north of Charlotte, North Carolina. And no visit to Steele Rubber would be complete without a visit to the wall of extrusions. These are cross sections from a lot of the parts that they've made spanning 110 years of automobiles, thousands of vehicles. And in fact, here's the one that we're installing on our El Camino right now. Now, what if you're doing a hot rod or something custom and Steele Rubber doesn't have a part in their catalog for you? Well, they've got a solution for that.
If you have a sealing issue that you can't find a solution for, our universal product line will offer a variety of options to choose from that will more than likely provide a better sealing solution than what you were originally working with. Hundreds of profiles to choose from, all different shapes and sizes, also in dense as well as sponge rubber. So depending upon the actual application, we more than likely have something for you. If you don't know what to find or what to look for rather, certainly our customer service department can help you identify the proper shape and size that will work best for you. And of course, you have the guarantee of a Steele Rubber Products higher quality product than what you've been working with previously.
The last segment, we talked about the first mistake folks make when they're putting new weather stripping in their car, and that's throwing away the original. And we know that the owner kept this, which was great, and now we have a great replacement part from Steele Rubber, which is going to lead us to the second mistake folks often make, Danny.
Yeah, so the second mistake that people make is not checking the orientation of the weather stripping. That's something you want to do and make sure that the weather stripping that you have, you can see this isn't just a symmetrical piece. you want to make sure that it's facing the right way for the vehicle. So once you know you have the correct orientation, the third mistake people make is not doing a test fit. So we can do a test fit real easy on this. There's a corner on this particular weather stripping, so you know exactly where you're going to want to start.
Good reference point. That's a complicated piece. The manufacturing process is, must be pretty tricky on that.
Yeah, this is an extrusion. It's got clips, and those clips are placed by hand. You have to make sure all the measurements are right. So as we do this test fit, we can see that we have a clip here. And so I can just go ahead and pop that one in to help hold it in place.
We mentioned that this is done by hand, not by machines in the shop, so hence the test fit.
That's right. You know, and if there was any kind of issue, we have the tools, we have the molds, so we can always go back and fix any kind of issue.
What's the tool you're using there to push it in?
This is our handy tuck tool. This basically is helpful for any weather stripping installation. There's always a factor that where the rubber has to be tucked in somewhere, or you need to get it over a lip or something. So this is very helpful for that.
How tight does that have to be when we're doing the test fit?
So you want it snug, and you can see here there's elasticity to it, but you want it to be nice and form-fitting to the car. Not loose, not super tight. You shouldn't have to stretch it a lot because the rubber's going to just sit and be in place for that time.
And this one looks pretty good. Looks like we hit the mark, right?
Yep. So for this one, we can go ahead and start finishing the installation.
Using the tuck tool there. Now this one, we saw in the original how it was just pushed into the groove there, but what if we wanted something a little more permanent and wanted something glued in? Can we do that?
Absolutely. So all the cars that use pins, you know, you're talking about 50s, late 50s and later, those can all use glue if you want something a little more permanent, a little stronger, or if you don't like any kind of slack that's in between the pins. You can always use a little bit of Weatherstrip adhesive, and that'll hold just fine.
Is that something I can get from Steele Rubber as well?
Absolutely. We recommend 3M Weatherstrip adhesive. We offer that. It comes in some of our kits. So anytime that it's required for a product, that's what we use.
Now this is a great fit here for the 69 El Camino. How difficult is it to match up with cars through the years? Because you guys have been covering 110 years worth of automobiles.
Right.
That's an incredible catalog.
Yeah, so, you know, with this one, all of our parts start with originals. So it's a customer asking for us if we can make it for them. And if we do, then we do our research to see if there's any cross-fitment between, you know, an El Camino and a Chevelle, or any kind of cross-fitment between makes. And then we put it on our catalog, and it's for those cars.
How important is it then to get information from your clients, feedback, when people are actually installing your products?
We love hearing feedback. You know, whether it's how people are using it, how it's performing. Like I said, we want to make a part that's wonderful for the customer. If there's any kind of issue, we take care of that completely.
Now let's talk about issues. So let's say you're doing the test fit and it doesn't quite match up and it doesn't quite work for you. What's the recourse? What can I do?
So anytime you come across an issue with our part, all of our parts are satisfaction guaranteed. So give us a call. We'll make it right. We can either make any kind of adjustment to the part. We can make sure that it's matching the original still. Any kind of issue, that we want to hear about it. Don't just throw away the part.
Well, the part that Danny's already done looks terrific. And by the way, this is an original OEM replacement, so it's just like the original. But Steele Rubber also makes parts that are even better than the original. We're going to show you how that process works when we come back to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings from Steele Rubber. You are on the road with Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. We're hanging out with our friends here at Steele Rubber. It's right around the corner from this RV park. And if you own an RV, you know there are seals everywhere, from the doors to the sliders and different compartments on it. And if you have a leak in one of those seals, well, it's going to be big trouble.
When somebody's calling in for automotive parts, it's a good day. You know, they're restoring a car and they're all excited. When somebody's calling about an RV part, it's usually because they're having a bad day and that it's leaking. The ones that we see or hear the most requests for are going to be slide outs and windows. And there's two real reasons for that. You would think maybe compartments and doors as well. But slide outs, because you have just the design of the camper with such a large box sticking out the side of the camper. If there's a leak, it's going to be very noticeable. And what's more is if there's a leak or a seal failure, it can cause the customer a lot in terms of money, in terms of damage to their camper. So when we're able to provide them a solution, and quickly, they're ecstatic. They're very happy about that, not only because of the quality of the product, but we have a team of individuals that will help walk them through either installations or fitment questions and things of that nature to ensure that everything is done just right and that they're satisfied.
From RVs to boats to cars, Steele Rubber has you covered when it comes to weather stripping. Now we've got our Vega behind us here. Jason, you're the proud owner. How long have you had this vehicle?
30 years.
30 years. So you've noticed some problems as you've started to restore it. And one of those would be this back window here, the weather stripping. What'd you notice when you pulled the original one off?
Well, the weather stripping was hard and a lot of rust behind it where it had a metal core in it.
And the metal core actually started the car to rust.
Correct.
So that's a big, big problem.
Yep.
So you improved on that design. You're one of the designers at Steele Rubber. You improved on that when designing a new one. So how does the new one compare to the old one?
Well, we take it, we 3D design it, we model it, we make it better than the original, but it looks like the original. We added better corners. These corners were not sealing correctly, so we modified the corners to make it seal correctly. And we test fit it on the car to make sure the window closes correctly, it seals correctly. If it doesn't, we modify it, put it back on and try it.
And it's also key to make it look right too.
Correct.
Make it look period correct. Now you're a Steele Rubber employee, but this isn't a special service just for employees.
No.
What's the process like if somebody comes to you, a customer says, I need a part and nobody makes it, I can't find it?
We'll look at it, and if no one makes it, we'll make it.
Excellent. And that process, if their vehicle's not with you, yours is here, of course, so you can test fit it. It involves sending the part back and forth to see if it works?
Yes.
What kind of reaction do you get from customers when they get something they weren't able to find before?
They're very happy.
Well, I bet they are. That's service like I've never seen before. Really incredible. Danny, that was the driver's side window seal, and you have taken off the passenger side. What was that process like?
So to remove the passenger quarter window here, we had to take off a couple panels from the interior on the B post and along the top side of this quarter window. Then we take off the bolts from the hinge that let it pop out, and then the whole window swings out and gets removed from these little hinges here. And then to remove the part, it's held on with the clinch seal, so you just pull the part off the pinch weld all the way around, and you can see what's left, you know, adhesive, body filler, so we got to clean all that up.
Which leads us to the next mistake that folks make when they're putting in new weather stripping.
That's right. A lot of people make the mistake of not prepping the surface, and that's one of the most important things to do whenever you're putting any weather stripping on. So to prep the surface here, of course, we got to get out some of the larger debris and, you know, vacuum off whatever we can. And then we'll come back with some adhesive cleaner and get some of the more stubborn stuff.
All right, well, Danny's going to start working on that. And while he's doing that, we're going to step away. We will return from Steele Rubber here on Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Stay tuned. Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is coming at you from the road. We're hanging out north of Charlotte, North Carolina with our friends at Steele Rubber, and we're over here on Lake Norman, where no visit to Charlotte is complete without coming here. Now, if you own a boat, you know it's got lots of rubber seals on it. And if you own a boat, you also know those rubber seals are the first thing to go.
The most common parts that a customer will be calling about and that they can actually work on themselves are going to be primarily compartments and doors. And those are the things, of course, where you're going to see the biggest issues with. On a boat, obviously, exposure to a lot of water. Anything that you have stored in compartments or behind closed doors you want to keep dry. Other parts that we commonly get requests for are window seals, and it could be for sliding glass windows or glazings for fixed windows arrangements. And last but not least, in an area that you wouldn't really think of off the bat, but is rub rail inserts. One of the common misconceptions is that replacing seals and weather stripping on a boat can't be done by yourself. And that's not the case. As a matter of fact, Steele Rubber Products is very happy to offer a full line of seals and weather stripping for your watercraft that are indeed very easy to replace. And this is anything from window seals to doors and compartments, even to large rub rail inserts. This is all something that you, the consumer, can do without having to take it to the shop to have it done.
When we last left our hero, Danny, you were working on prepping the window of this Vega. Now, what was entailed in that process?
So we had to get all the gunk that was underneath the seal, body filler, adhesive, old pieces of rubber. So we wanted to scrape all that out, get it removed, and make sure that it's as clean as possible for whenever we install our new weather strip.
And I know that preparation is so important when you're painting a car. How important is it when you're actually putting the rubber seal in?
Equally important. Everything for weather stripping comes down to surface prep, especially if you're gluing something. It's only going to stick as good as the surface lets it, and the cleaner that surface is, the better it'll be.
And especially in an old car, how important is the rubber seal to the integrity of the entire automobile?
Well, this protects everything. You know, it covers the pinch welds. I mean, you saw with the old one, this is where the rust started. So this is going to protect all of that, protect any kind of water. And even if you don't have water damage, it stops wind noise, makes the ride more enjoyable. It's necessary for the car.
Excellent. You've got, this is a good looking seal already, and it's just test fitted in here, right?
Yep, so we did our first couple steps. We've test fitted, have the correct orientation. So this particular seal, we are going to apply adhesive to install.
All right, and why have we chosen adhesive on this one? Because it could just go into the pinch weld just like it is, right?
Right, and it just holds on, you see how it is, but just like the old part, it pulls right off. That means it can fall right off. That means there is ability for water to get by there. So we are going to apply some adhesive to make sure it doesn't fall and stays in place.
Excellent. This is the 3M that you recommended, steel rubber.
That's right. So what I like to do is put a little bit on a different surface, and because this stuff can be messy to work with, I'm sure lots of people know. So take a popsicle stick and we'll spread it on in a thin layer.
All right, and this leads us to our next mistake that people often make when they are installing new rubber seals, and that's using too much adhesive. So how do we know we've got the right amount?
So you basically want a thin layer. I always talk about it as like a sticky note, how a sticky note is tacky but not oozing everywhere. That's kind of what you want, and whenever you put the seal on, you don't want it oozing around the side.
You don't want any squeeze out at all.
Right.
Gotcha.
So with this stuff, you apply a thin layer, you do wait for it to get just a little bit tacky, and if it's a little bit warm, it'll get tackier quicker than later. So we will do that, and you can even put some on the seal itself, right where it's going to be coming in contact with the vehicle.
How long after we finish then are we able to put the window back in?
So with this particular application, you can put the window in pretty much right away. One of the mistakes that people often make is gluing in a trunk seal and then slamming the trunk closed. And the glue takes a while to cure, so you want to give it time to cure. We recommend a day, 3M, it says 24 hours, but you want to make sure that it's just not going to move on you. If you have to close it, put some tape on it to make sure that it's going to stay in place. But with this application, with the window, the way it closes, it's not going to have any shear force, so you're pretty much good to go with this.
Now you're taking your time on this, which again leads us to another mistake that people make a lot when they're putting in new rubber seals.
Right, so you just want to take your time. If you don't want to make a mess and you want to make sure everything's glued down correctly, just take your time. And if anyone's ever installed a windshield before, they know the process can be difficult. But if you take your time, make the job look good, it's the only time you're ever going to have to do it.
A little investment at this end of the project is going to lead to lots of years of enjoyment and a really cool looking car.
Absolutely.
So what have we learned here on our visit to Steele Rubber? Well, we learned about the 7 mistakes people make a lot when they are putting new seals on their car. Number 1 is a really important one, Danny. Do not throw away the original seal.
That's right. Make sure there's a replacement part for it, and if not, call us to see if we can make it.
All right, and then once you get the new part, do not forget to check the orientation when you're putting it on.
Yeah, make sure the seal's facing the right way. I can't tell you how many trunk seals I've seen put on backwards.
A lot of people also forget to do a test fit.
Yeah, do a test fit, make sure everything looks good, make sure that you're not going to get into any unforeseen circumstances.
This is a step I think that a lot of people probably skip over too. They don't properly prep the surface when it's time to put a new seal on.
Yeah, you have to prep the surface. Surface prep is everything when it comes to install.
An easy one to fall into is using too much adhesive.
Yeah, you don't need too much Weatherstrip adhesive. A little goes a long way and works a lot better.
And if you're doing a trunk seal, you don't want to rush to get that thing on the road right away.
Yeah, don't close the door or trunk whenever you're putting a new seal on. Give that adhesive time to set.
And the best overall lesson, item number 7, do not rush to finish the job.
All good things take time. So take your time, make sure you're nice and neat about everything, and it'll be the only time you have to do it.
And I'm going to add item number 8, by the way. The biggest mistake you'd make is not going to Steele Rubber when you need a new rubber seal for your car. Thank you for coming along with us on a road trip to our friends at Steele Rubber Products. It's great to see folks at the top of their business, and we hope you enjoyed the trip as much as we did. We're going to do it once again next week, so be sure to join us for another edition of Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. So long.